Welcome to the Matsunoki Cafe. I'm Shiro, the owner. It's time for another Zenless Zone Zero character lore analysis. After covering the three major factions of 1.0, the next faction on our bucket list is the Criminal Investigation Special Response Team. But that's too long for a video title, so we're going to refer to them as just Public Security. We have another quartet of characters to look over, so let's get to analyzing them without delay.
Listen, take me along.
Starting with the only 4-star among the police's ranks, we have Seth. Undercover R&B has Seth take a secondary role, serving as a foil to Jane. I'm convinced Jane came first, and then they created Seth with the primary purpose of contrasting her. If I were doing 1 to 2 characters at a time like I do for HSR, this cat and mouse duo definitely would have shared a video together, trust me. Now, saying he's first and foremost meant to parallel Jane is reductive, admittedly. He does have his share of characteristics separate from her that allow him to stand on his own and bounce off other characters. It's not like he can't function without Jane being around. In fact, he's unable to function when Jane's around. Honestly, Seth, I can relate. But the contrasting personalities between him and Jane are meant to highlight what makes one another interesting. I don't want to go too deep on Jane's character for this comparison, since I obviously want to save it for her section. Thankfully, I don't need to, as the essential bullet points of their dynamic is made crystal clear from the first act of the episode. In their first confrontation, they make a point about how their fighting styles and general tactics differ. Jane commonly uses underhanded methods and tricks while fighting. Meanwhile, Seth follows a strong code of honor in all his actions both in and out of combat. Seth is a top alumni from the training academy, so it's clear he has a ton of book smarts, not so much street smarts. He can act very simple-mindedly. His naivety shines in moments such as him willingly surrendering to the Mountain Lion gang when they promise not to hurt the hostages. While Jane is an expert in disguise and infiltrating criminal organizations, Seth's agent details spend half a paragraph explaining how much he sucks at infiltration, and the paragraph above it mentions that despite his intelligence, his personality often leads to him being taken advantage of by cunning criminals or sometimes co-workers. His Bond events go even further in pushing this open book aspect to him. His first event has him get roped up in a street interview where the reporter is trying to fish specific answers out of him, only to get upset when she's met with Seth's honest answers. Seth doesn't think about whether his words would have a bad or good look for public security, so long as he's truthful and straightforward. And during this same cutscene, he has this line.
Bad luck. Sounds like something that guy would say.
The guy Seth is talking about is very likely his brother, a high-ranking commissioner in PubSec. As we've come to learn, Seth's brother is definitely someone we should be suspicious of. While we have yet to meet him in person, how fast he closed the investigation on Bringer and said everything involving the Exaltists was only on him is meant to raise our eyebrows. While his brother is being set up to be a cop who's heavily corrupt, Seth is a pure, innocent soul fighting for justice. He follows the law book to a T because he simply wants to do what's right. As he told Razor, he can't stand dishonesty and hypocrisy. Seth's straightforward mindset is fitting characterization, since his design is meant to invoke knightly imagery. His weapon is akin to his sword and shield. His Thyran species goes hand in hand with his paladin archetype. I believe the specific feline species Seth takes after is the white tiger. The white tiger, known as the Baihu in Chinese mythology, often represents courage and justice. However, it can be used as a symbol for power in general, which I feel will be important when his higher ranked brother finally shows his face to us. On the topic of brothers, let's go into Seth's name. Seth is the name of the third son of Adam and Eve, born after Abel was murdered by Cain. Eve believed Seth was born so he could replace Abel as a shepherd. We learned from hanging out with ZZZ's Seth that he has an older brother who also works in PubSec. Only one brother though, which depending on how much we want to follow Abrahamic mythology, there could be a really messed up explanation as to why. On a lighter note, Lowell means wolf, kinda ironic since he's a Cathyran. Seth is weighed down by his family ties. A lot of people treat him differently than most due to him being seen as coming from nobility, as made clear by Lizzie's interactions with him during the final Bond event. Heck, his agent intel states that because he graduated top of his class, Seth could have started working at PubSec in a much higher position, closer in rank to his brother, but he chose the harder path by rising up those ranks through the response team. He wants to prove to everyone that he's worthy of his badge, that he got where he is purely through hard work, and he wants to prove to his brother that he surpassed him while staying true to his heroic principles. The description of The Big Hollow, the movie Seth and his brother grew up watching, illuminates what makes Seth's character charming. In a world full of complications and ulterior motives, it's a breath of fresh air to have someone straightforward like Seth. A person who's genuine in his desire to see the best in anyone and give them a chance to reform, such as how he talks to Jane before he finds out she's on his side. He's a great example of how Zenless brilliantly handles simplistic character traits, and I look forward to when his brother appears so we get more moments with our model officer.
Which alias should I use this time?
To everyone who skipped Seth's segment to watch this part, hi! Also, how dare you? The star of the undercover R&B special episode, Zenless' femme fatale herself, Jane Doe. Up there as one of the game's most popular characters and a fan favorite to many. Like seriously, the amount of cosplays and fan art for this one character is astounding. Jane is initially presented as a member of the Mountain Lion Gang. However, as we learned pretty early into the episode, her allegiance to the gang is only a front. In truth, she's a criminal behavior specialist who often works undercover for PubSec. The episode as a whole does a good job showcasing how, both on and off duty, she knows her way around conversations and can stay inconspicuous to everyone.
Wow, that rat Byron girl sure has that riz. I love her.
Come on, I had to include that when talking about Jane. It's just too silly of a line. I said it in Seth's section, but the contrast between them mainly comes down to their methods in doing what they believe is right. Seth is upfront about his beliefs, following the law to the letter and never deviating from it. Jane is much more devious, not just in battle but in general. She keeps her cards close to her chest. Rarely do her words match her intentions and true feelings. I don't just mean how she plays the villain role while she pretends to be working for the Mountain Lion Gang around Seth and the other hostages. When she's not working incognito, she likes to playfully tease others. We see this in her, well, teaser trailer, plus in her more casual interactions with Seth and the Proxy. Seth's philosophy is a case of the ends justify the means. She has no issue committing acts that are morally a little dubious if ultimately she can get the job done and ensure good triumphs over evil. As we see partway through the episode, she's willing to go so far as pushing a guy off the tower to keep up her act. Don't worry, he later turns out to have survived. Jane doesn't have a kill count. At least, not that we're aware of.
Why did you say when I would actually murder someone? Like I have already.
When? No. Wait, what?
Okay, I know I just made a joke about how Jane is secretly a killer, but the whole point of her conflict with the leader of the gang, Razor, is how they view themselves in relation to concepts of order. Razor is a man who enforces his own set of rules, making people blindly and loyally follow his every order. However, he's willing to go against his code if it makes things better or easier for him, showing that his rules are ultimately hollow and are self-serving in nature. In contrast, Jane follows her own personal code of ethics. She doesn't follow the law to a T like Seth, nor enforces her rules onto others like Razor. While her end goal is always to do the right thing, she's not afraid to use unconventional methods and carve out her own path to get there. Such independence in her cunningness is why it's so easy for her to put on the convincing act of a malicious mouse. The name she goes by is reflective of her career. Jane Doe is a placeholder name for women whose actual names are unknown or kept hidden, often used to refer to unidentifiable female corpses. This is an allusion to her constantly going undercover and putting on disguises at times. It's made abundantly clear Jane Doe is not her birth name. She had it legally changed due to the nature of her work. Likely so, no one could dig up personal info on her if they found out she was with PubSec. Also, Doe is the term for adult female mice, which is a cute detail. Her being a rat siren does drive home certain aspects of her character. Rats are often symbols for cunningness and adaptability after all. The rat is also the first animal of the Chinese zodiac, and people born during years of the rat are commonly charming and quick-witted people. Regardless of how outwardly sly she can come across, it's made clear by the end of the episode and in her Bond events that she has a good heart underneath the scheming exterior. In her first rank-up event, she states that no matter what mask she has on, she'd never do anything to harm innocent people, such as the manager. Her agent details mention how she's a total night owl and loves working at night, though her final Bond event makes it clear her workload is very hefty. She almost passed out on the street from overworking herself, but was taken to random play after muttering the store's name to someone. She explains that happened because the nights passing by the store have become a comforting memory to her, laying it slip that she, quote, isn't used to being cared for, like how the manager took her in and made sure she's okay. The running theme of her Bond cutscenes is how she appreciates spending time with the Thathan siblings. After all, they give her respite from her hectic work. She constantly has to put up different personas and protect her true self. Thus, it's natural to assume she's been unable to form a genuine connection with anyone until meeting Wise and Bell. The impression you get of Jane, which you can see as you're about to send an invite to her, is that to her, good night, sweet dreams, and let's have breakfast together are two very significant phrases. They're important because they're signs of a close bond. A bond she was never able to have before. Whatever past she had before becoming an undercover agent for PubSec, she left it behind to become the Jane Doe we know now. Her charisma and confidence are part of the mask she wears. In truth, she's a lonely soul seeking relationships where she can be fully herself. In Undercover R&B, we see the seeds being planted for such a bond with Seth, and the trust events show her form a strong bond with Phaethon. I hope she gets to play a role in the main story in the future so we can see her make more close connections, preferably with Zhu Yuan and Qingyi, so the faction as a whole has more fleshed out dynamics, as well as to give us more examples of how sometimes to do the right thing, you need to take matters into your own hands and follow your personal code. Hey, you. Yes, you watching this video. Did you know that only a small percentage of my viewers are subscribed to me? If you've liked the video so far and want to see more like it, please consider subscribing to the channel. Every new subscriber gets us closer to our goal of 2,000 subscribers before 2026. Alright, back to the regularly scheduled analyses.
Let me finish my cup of hot water.
Next up, the nonchalant and wise automaton herself, Qingyi. Similar to how Seth played a deuteragonist role to play off Jane, Qingyi serves a similar thematic function in Mission Unthinkable, being secondary in focus to play off Zhu Yuan and help guide her through her development during that episode. While Zhu Yuan starts off as a reliable and serious officer who strictly follows protocol, Qingyi is a bundle of chaos who isn't afraid to go a little against the book. Their introductory scene does a wonderful job establishing how they both have the same objective to protect the peace, but have different means of doing so. For context, Belle is about to get hit by a car. Zhu Yuan runs headfirst to push Belle out of the way, establishing her priority to save people before dealing with the danger. Qingyi wrecks the car, establishing her first instinct is to deal with the problem, even if it causes some damage. There are multiple moments throughout this interlude chapter that demonstrate how Qingyi is an odd individual. There's a whole bit where Qingyi legit tries to lick evidence, only to be stopped by Zhu Yuan. And look at that face, this little automaton means no harm, she's just being silly. Her silliness can be rather childish, as seen in her first Bond event. She recharges a bit after losing all her battery, but acts like she's still deactivated to watch the proxy and Zhu Yuan worry over her.
I was just being playful. It's kind of fun to pretend to be sick and see who actually cares, don't you think?
Qingyi hasn't watched Gintama. She doesn't know how much of a disaster acting sick can go. This is your reminder to watch peak fiction. Don't let her carefree attitude fool you. She is definitely the smartest person on the response team. She managed to deduce we were Phaethon pretty easily over the course of her agent story. Her agent details stress how she is a rookie officer working under Zhu Yuan. Seth's details also use rookie to describe his status as an officer. Even though they are both labeled as greenhorns and PubSec, Qingyi is much more knowledgeable and, let's be frank here, capable than Seth is. While technically a novice, she can be a guiding mentor for Zhu Yuan. She offers pearls of wisdom to her captain as often as she takes orders from her. Despite her rookie status, we see in her final trust event that she considers herself a senior officer in comparison to her co-workers. By senior, she doesn't mean rank, more so her age. We also see in this event just how much she takes things too seriously, such as a game of truth and dare where she follows through on the dare to not use the network for 24 hours. Her sonority plays into her name. Qingyi's name means bird in clothing. It was another word for Jing Dan, a role middle-aged women played in Chinese opera. The role was commonly characterized as dignified, elegant women. This traditional origin of the term likely connects to Qingyi being an old soul in a young-looking robot body. In universe though, Qingyi got her name from the White Star Institute researcher who found her. Her abbreviated designation was 01NG6, which looked like Qingyi. Thus, that name was given to her. Losing battery and struggling to get around without her map data is only the tip of the iceberg when it comes to the issues Qingyi faces. Would you believe me if I told you that her identity as an artificial being causes her to have an existential crisis? I'm being serious. The Qingyi music video, Crimson Pierces the Twilight, is the song equivalent of a panic attack. Yes, I'm finally talking about one of these character MVs in the series of lore analyses. It does piss me off a little that this stuff is locked away in a music video, but I digress. The video showcases Qingyi living in different time periods throughout history. The description of the video explains that Qingyi has shut down and been restarted many times throughout the years. With each reset, the memories of her past lives progressively erode. During a battle against ethereals, fragments of those lost memories begin to resurface and torment her. At one point, we see her as a swordswoman with an archer beside her that looks a fair bit like Zhu Yuan. Now, there are two possibilities. One, it could be Zhu Yuan's actual ancestor, or two, the one I take more stock in. Due to the constant resets distorting Qingyi's memories of her past lives, it's possible she doesn't remember who was by her side back then and is using Zhu Yuan's likeness as a substitute. Either way, the faintness of these memories that span across multiple eras are causing Qingyi's sense of identity to break apart. There's one lyric that's repeated twice in the song, 010001. A channel called Superpowers Being Blind left a comment on the video that went into the symbolism behind the string of numbers. It corresponds to the hexagram Water Thunder Ton, which represents being surrounded by obstacles and feeling like success is out of reach. That's how Qingyi feels, as her mere existence as a robot is the root cause of this issue. The whole song is rather melancholic. Take a look at some of the lyrics here. A fleeting glimpse of tranquility. Take off the mask. Self-scrutiny. Hard not to feel uneasy. The world only knows cruelty. Like, Jesus, Qingyi, are you okay? That self-scrutiny can be seen in her agent story, the case of a missing Bangbu. While investigating the disappearance of Teddy the Bangbu, the manager can express worry over Qingyi not resting at all. And Qingyi drops this line during her response.
In the end, the existence of intelligent machines is to be discarded in place of humans when danger arises.
Later on in the quest, Qingyi gets a new shark Bangbu in place of Teddy, believing that machines like her and Teddy are replaceable at the end of the day. However, Holly quickly spots small details that prove the Bangbu wasn't her friend. As Qingyi remarks, even if they made Teddy 2 look exactly identical to Teddy 1 and transfer his memories to the newer model, Holly would still consider them two separate Bangbus. Her surprise about this speaks volumes for how little Qingyi thinks of herself. Qingyi describes herself as nothing more than a complex Bangbu. In her mind, she's completely disposable and replaceable like any phone or game system, all because she isn't human. That's likely why her main tactic on the job is to attack the problem head on, thinking she can take the damage because she can be repaired, or in the worst case scenario, outright replaced by an even stronger android. But the agent story and the end of her music video both show how that's not the case. To Faithin, Zhu Yuan, and many others, Qingyi is someone they love and care for. She can never be replaced by some other machine who had the same name and appearance. Such a moral is an important one for the real-life humans who play this game. To you, the person watching this video, you are irreplaceable. There's something about you as an individual that makes you unique. Something that makes you worthy of being loved and appreciated by others. Never forget that.
Officer 148, Zhu Yuan, ready.
Need me a woman like that. Anyway, Zhu Yuan! Saving the best for last, you can find me on that in the comments. We're talking about the leader of the Special Response Team, Captain Zhu Yuan. She's the star of the main story episode Mission Unthinkable, giving players ample time to see how she ticks and watch her personally develop. I already went over her introduction and how it establishes a key aspect of her character back in Qingyi's segment. The next scene we get with Zhu Yuan, which happens at the Memorial Plaza, serves the purpose of setting up the obstacle she must overcome in her character arc. That obstacle is her faith in Bringer and the wider police system. As we come to learn later on in a conversation between her and Qingyi, Inspector Bringer was very much an idol and role model for Zhu Yuan. In the past, Bringer had the moniker of the Hollow Hero because he would repeatedly rescue people from hollows. One of the many people he saved happened to be a young Zhu Yuan, who was inspired by Bringer's courage and wanted to be an officer just like him. Zhu Yuan's connection to Bringer is a prime example of the phrase, never meet your heroes. Even before we got any inkling he was part of the Exaltists, his introductory scene shows a contrast between how great of a hero he used to be versus the man he truly is. He's more concerned about his running in the upcoming election rather than actually looking into the origin of the sacrifice. The people on 6th Street see right through the ruse and are initially resistant to registering for the exchange event. However, after successfully resolving a case of theft and stopping the culprits, everyone becomes a lot more willing to attend. That's because Zhu Yuan proved herself to be a trustworthy, heroic officer by catching the culprit, not to make herself look good, but because it was the right thing to do. We see Zhu Yuan's heart of gold be reinforced later in the chapter when she and Qingyi realize the culprits behind the EMP attacks were specifically targeting the transport routes for the sacrifice. Before that though, in the conversation where Zhu Yuan brought up that she was saved by Bringer, Qingyi said this.
It means when someone flatters undeserving people, it's considered an act of sycophancy. If one should stand up for what is right but remains indifferent, it shows that person is a coward.
And then in this comic scene, Zhu Yuan finds her resolve as an officer. She doesn't work as hard as she does simply to get the attention and approval of her hero. She proves she possesses the bravery to stand up for what's right and not sit idly by to injustice. The exact kind of bravery a coward like Bringer no longer had.
I want to do for others what he did for me back then. I want to be someone who protects people.
Mission Unthinkable is about Zhu Yuan understanding that the law and police force can be exploited for personal gain and greed. Thanks to Qingyi's wise words, the captain learns that sometimes you have to go off book and bend the rules a little to do what's best. Case in point, she accepts Thathan's help in stopping the hijacking despite proxies like them doing illegal work. So long as Zhu Yuan's ideals of justice and desire to do good stay firm and intact, then her small defiances of the current order of things matters little. She can make up for the failings of the system and be the heroic officer she's always dreamed of. Side note, with how much of Zhu Yuan's character is communicated through her connection to Bringer, it's a shame she didn't play a bigger part in the last stretch of Chapter 5. I get Miyabi was the big star of the update and that chapter, but I feel like Zhu Yuan should have had some final words with Bringer before he transformed. It's a small missed opportunity. Anyway. That defiance is communicated in her design. The main color of public security is blue, yet Zhu Yuan has red eyes and red highlights in her hair. The presence of reddish colors in her design are meant to display that her passion is to help people, not to maintain the flawed status quo. Heck, even the first part of her name, Zhu, connects two shades of red, typically vermilion or cinnabar. The Chinese symbol used to spell Yuan often means kite, the bird of prey, not the flying object. Kites can represent adaptability, aspiration, and cleverness, traits you can use to describe the hardworking Zhu Yuan and her desire to be a model police officer. Kites are also made distinct from other birds by their V-shaped tail, just like how Zhu Yuan is well known for her thick Okay, to get back on the red symbolism, you can see her passion communicated in her character's association for tomatoes. She grows a little tomato garden and even has a tomato plant on her desk, as seen in her birthday art. Tomatoes often symbolize love, solidarity, and confronting injustice. I've gone over how those last two connect to Zhu Yuan, but as for love, it has to do with her parents. Aside from everything involving Bringer, Zhu Yuan is the least tragic or traumatized character in this cast. She had a normal childhood with two loving parents. She wasn't an orphan, she didn't have friends die in front of her or abandon her, she didn't lose her legs and eye after a toxic breakup with her ex. And based on the dad's profile picture, which we see in Zhu Yuan's EP, it seems a love for tomatoes runs in the family. However, the relative lack of tragedy in her life is rather refreshing. Her unique charm is ironically being the closest to a normal person in comparison to every other playable character in the game. Heck, her most prominent character flaw is arguably the most down-to-earth one too, even though Weisenbell's impressions state that such flaws do not exist. And I thought I was the biggest Zhu Yuan glazer, not it's these two. Zhu Yuan is a big workaholic. This is the whole setup for the first Bond event. She managed to accumulate 79 days of leave. It got to the point that PubSec forced her to go on vacation. Even when on vacation, she can't help but think of her job, as seen when she went on a tangent about how the Tin Masters Cafe is in the perfect spot for surveillance, or how the 404 Aero Store could be used as a shelter. We get a look at her apartment in her PV, and there's one shot of her huge amount of different diplomas and trophies. This shot cements that Zhu Yuan is an exceptional officer in pretty much every sense of the word, due to how hardworking and serious she is about her job. At the same time, she knows not to overwork herself. Her trailer has a moment that highlights how, due to her strong work ethic and self-management, she rarely if ever needs to work overtime. However, that seriousness has made her a bit of a perfectionist. To go back to her first Bond event, she specifically feels bad about going on vacation because it's like she's leaving a ton of work for everyone else to deal with in her stead. Her dedication to her work also resulted in her being pretty shy in common social interactions or having blissful ignorance about certain urban knowledge. Look no further than the last Trust event where you and her watch adult videos. Zhu Yuan may not be the most socially aware person, but she certainly tries her best. Besides, she isn't fully addicted to her work. In her PV, we see her notice how she's turned down seeing her parents multiple times due to dealing with cases, which is why she decides to take up her father on his most recent offer and promise to spend the weekend with them. Zhu Yuan loves her family and is able to prioritize them over her job, taking much needed days off to show her affection. I'm someone who has overworked themselves multiple times in the past, and even now tends to prioritize their projects above their other needs, but recently I've been working on improving my work-life balance. It's cute to see Zhu Yuan trying her best to do the same as well. She's inspiring in her reliability and good-natured responsibility, and adorable in her dorkiness and earnesty. The running motifs and themes of this faction are much more apparent compared to the others I've covered so far, but regardless, it's still handled well by the writers. Each PubSec character examines the pursuit of justice in different ways. Jane deviates the most from the rulebook of the law, but still makes it her ultimate goal to combat and put a stop to crime. Seth is on the opposite end of the lawful alignment spectrum. I don't know why I said alignment like I know anything about D&D. He's so headstrong in his vision of heroism that his strong conviction is both a benefit and a hindrance for him. Qingyi and later Zhu Yuan are in the middle. While they follow standard protocol for the most part, they're not afraid to deviate if it's beneficial to the ultimate goal of PubSec officers, which is to keep people safe. The main theme across all four characters and their involvement in the story is that the law can be twisted and corrupted to the point it's no better than crime if placed in the wrong hands, such as bringers. The playable agents of public security don't blindly go along with the system and orders from the higher-ups. Zhu Yuan and her teammates are people who genuinely want to preserve the peace of New Eridu, even if they must bend or break the rules to do so. Even Seth, the person who follows the law the most out of the group, is willing to admit where PubSec falters, and disapproves of shady officers like his brother. There's no one objectively correct way to help people. There are multiple avenues to give others support, whether they be your immediate community or people across the globe from you. While their methods and ideologies can wildly differ, at the end of the day, the agents of PubSec are all good people who want to uphold justice and make the world less ridden with crime. Such exploration of how morality interacts with justice was a perfect theme to cover with this faction, and that's what makes them all enjoyable. And if you enjoy the video, be sure to help it survive in the algorithm by liking it and leaving a comment. My goal is to reach 2,000 subscribers before the year's over, so I ask that you also consider subbing to the channel. It's free, you can unsub at any time, plus it'll put a big smile on my face. Oh, by the way, if you have some cash lying around and feel like supporting me that way, I have a Ko-fi you can donate to. And if you want some short novels to read, you can buy my book series Flamebringer Prince off Amazon. Links in the description. Thank you for visiting the Matsunoki Cafe. Have a great rest of your day, and until we meet again, take care.